Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Good. We have the unenviable task of keeping you guys engaged after lunch, 3 days in the conference. But I'm hoping that our conversation this afternoon is going to be very rich. I have with me Elizabeth Stark, the co-founder and CEO of Lightning Labs. I'll have her do a quick introduction. And how many people before 2 days ago had never heard about the word lightning? Can I see your hands? Before 2 days ago, I had never heard about lightning. Okay, so very few people. Okay. Elizabeth has a tweet where she said she believes LND and Layer 2 will be the HTTP of Bitcoin. Liz, can you quickly just introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about that tweet, what you meant, and what Lightning is.
First of all, so excited to be here. My first time in the region, and just want to shout out to Farida, Prince, all of the organizers. You guys have done an incredible job, so thank you. This is, like, the number of people I've met in the last 48 hours is overwhelming, in a good way. And just to see all the energy here in the room, in this community, to meet the makers, the builders, it's been amazing. So really excited to be here. Okay, so in 2014, actually, before I started my company, Lightning Labs, I did tweet, Bitcoin is like the TCP/IP of money, but nobody has built the HTTP yet, meaning the application layer. And it's funny because I knew about that tweet, but maybe hadn't thought about it in a while, and then somebody found it one day on Twitter. And I was like, whoa, this is actually what I'm doing now, a couple years later. But as mentioned, I'm the CEO and co-founder of a startup, a company called Lightning Labs, and we're building technology for the Lightning Network. Really cool that lots of people here know about Lightning, but for those that may not be familiar, Lightning is an open protocol, a technology for Bitcoin that sits on top of it, a layer 2, that enables instant high-volume transactions with low fees. So you can think of it as like a payment network, a Visa, decentralized for Bitcoin, but much more scalable. It can do many thousands, hundreds of thousands of transactions per second, very low fees, fees that are a tiny fraction of the existing solutions today, and then instant or near instant transactions. And to be honest, the progress we've seen in this community and building out this technology, this protocol, I know we have so many people here in the room today that are actively building either on the protocol level, developer, tool level, or the end user level on Lightning. So it's really been incredible to build out this monetary network for Bitcoin. Because in the early days of Bitcoin, many people think of Bitcoin as Bitcoin, the asset. I buy Bitcoin, I hodl, I get involved in that way. But what Lightning enables is Bitcoin as a monetary network to enable transactions. So we've heard from folks like, Bitnob, Matrankura, Strike, Galoy, and many others here that are using Lightning as a monetary network and a transaction network. And it's pretty incredible that it's only been about 4 years. 2018 was the year where we had the first mainnet users on Lightning. And the kind of progress we've seen since then in terms of number of builders, number of companies adopting it, number of community projects that have evolved around this has really been, in a way, almost like I wouldn't have even thought we'd be where we are today, but here we are.
Great. Thank you. A key theme that's run across this conference has been, at least, and one that I'm also very passionate about, has been around utility of Bitcoin as currency. And I like that you said, there's all that focus on speculation and saving, but Lightning actually now enables that people can actually transact with Bitcoin because it's real time. I can't imagine being at the checkout counter and having to wait 10 minutes for them to confirm the transaction, but you now make it possible. How do we get this technology in the hands of the people that can actually build those last mile solutions that fit into the average man's day.
An average woman's day.
And an average woman's day.
At Lightning Labs, we have a global team. We have developers around the world. By the way, we are hiring. We don't care where you are. We want to hire the best talent in the world. And we have a developer from South Africa. Her name is El Mouton. Check her out on Twitter. And one thing that I think is super cool, so Africa is ahead of the curve, as you guys often are. And so in South Africa, there's Pick n Pay, which is a quite large grocery store, major chain throughout the country. They now accept Bitcoin and Lightning payments. So Elle went, and this is only a couple weeks ago, to her local Pick n Pay, and she posted a video on Twitter with her mobile app. She was using the app Zeus by a great developer named Evan Kaludis, and paid for her groceries over Lightning,
nice.
Right, at her local grocery store. And I thought, okay, how cool is this? That this is a developer who's building Lightning technology, the protocol, and now she's going to her local grocery store and she's able to use the technology that she's actively building, right? That is the power of Bitcoin and Lightning. Anybody can build on it, anybody can participate, and anyone can adopt it. So what I see is so much promise here in this region, but also results, right? One of the things I'm really passionate about is the evolution of Bitcoin and Lightning communities. People are familiar with Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador. They're pioneers. I know there are folks involved with that here. We, here in Africa, have Bitcoin Mountain. Shout out to Chio, who I was really excited to meet here. Bitcoin Akasi. Yeah, in South Africa. Shout out to you guys as well. And there's so much power in organizing grassroots communities. And one of the things I love about Bitcoin is people are so passionate about Bitcoin, they spend their nights and weekends on it because they love it. Nobody's forcing them to do this. Nobody's telling them this is their job, although there are many jobs available in this community. So as mentioned, we're hiring and many other companies are hiring. And to me, the way that this spreads across these communities is by the people that are passionate, by the people that are training, by the people that are teaching, right? Bitcoin and Lightning is not just a technology, it is a movement, and it's a movement that we're seeing spread across this region and across the world. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about with regard to Lightning is the power of emerging markets. Because a lot of people say, I'm from the US. They say, oh, why do we need Bitcoin? We already have a functioning monetary system, a functioning banking system. By the way, there are many reasons why in my country, you can send a transaction, it can take days. Africa is actually ahead of the curve when it comes to even transacting. But what Bitcoin and Lightning enable is this global monetary network that anybody can build upon. People don't actually need permission from banks, from intermediaries, from some particular company in order to do so. And that unlocks so much power for this community. So I've already learned a lot in the last couple days about what everyone's building, but I can't wait to learn more because I'm sure there's so much more out here about this community and what people are building.
Thank you. And I like the fact that you say we need passionate people. Unfortunately, I know as a continent, we have challenges with the education system, and particularly when it comes to building and technology, that then creates, you need intermediaries getting in, you need companies getting into the space to supplement knowledge. Are you guys doing anything specific around spreading knowledge and education about Lightning to developer community specifically?
That's one of the areas that I personally am super passionate about, and I know the whole team at Lightning Labs is really excited about. So my co-founder and our CTO of Lightning Labs was actually born in Nigeria. His name is Lalu Oshuntokan. Grew up in US, goes back, visits family. Follow him on Twitter. It's roast beef, no tea, ROASBEEF. He also writes really technical things, so all you folks interested in the technology will read his tweets. And I think that's really significant because you have somebody who's the technical architect of a lot of what's going on here, who is from this region. And there's such an important power of community. So for example, I actually first met Lalu at a Bitcoin developer meetup in San Francisco. And so many of the people that I've met in this community, and I have a lot of internet friends where I'm like, oh, I know you on the internet, but I haven't met you yet in person, right? And I've met a lot of people that I only knew on the internet here at this event. And there's such a power of community, but also the educational portion of community. The kind of knowledge you can get by attending a meetup, by watching, say, online videos or online talks, will not be something that you can find, say, in a traditional educational system or a university. So one of the things that is so powerful about this community is we're putting out a lot of educational materials, content. For example, at Lightning Labs, Hannah Rosenberg on our team is doing developer education videos. We recently released translations as well and subtitles in Spanish. I know there's a very cool Exonumia project here, KG, I know you're somewhere here in the room. It would be really great to get subtitles and translations for these developer videos in a variety of African languages to educate people. Lalu, as well, is co-author of a book called Mastering the Lightning Network with Andreas Antonopoulos, Renee Pickart. That is available online on GitHub. You can access that for free. It is quite technical. I know you use it at Kala.
We use it at Kala, yes.
But you can start there and start learning more. We have resources at docs.lightning.engineering. Again, people that are interested in translation, I think there are really big opportunities to get the word out and to educate people. And one of the things that for me is so powerful about the Bitcoin and Lightning community is we don't care where you went to school or even if you went to school. We don't care if you worked at some fancy company or in this tech place previously. Even when we hire at Lightning Labs, we care about what you are capable of doing. Are you able to learn? Are you able to participate in this community? And that is really powerful because pedigree does not matter to us. We're about what can you do, how can you contribute, and what can you produce? And I think that really differentiates us. So as a result, there's so many opportunities. Kala being a great example. I remember chatting with Bernard when he was conceptualizing this in the early days. I know some other folks, Tim is involved as well. And these types of programs are so crucial to getting the word out, to educating people. Then folks participating in Kala that are learning about development will tell their friends, send out resources, get them to come to events, meetups. And that's how we're able to spread this knowledge that's available globally on the internet, where it does not matter if you went to some fancy school or had a fancy education, because everyone can access the same knowledge globally.
If I was thinking of building a product right now in Nigeria or in Accra, and I was interested in integrating Lightning, how would I start? Also, potentially considering that my developer isn't necessarily the most technical, / his knowledge of Bitcoin is also a bit just starting. How would I start, and what would you advise me as a founder?
Great question. So at Lightning Labs, we're building one of the implementations for Lightning called LND. Lightning is an open protocol. There are a number of other teams building implementations of Lightning. But for our LND implementation, we have a series of docs at docs.lightning.engineering. A number of people in the community have published guides for LND or for other Lightning implementations for people to get started. But there are various levels of building on Lightning. For example, there's a company out there called Voltage that enables, shout out to Voltage, a great part of the developer community that enables people to run nodes, kind of like an AWS for Lightning. There's River Financial that has what's called RLS, River Lightning Services, which is a developer API that enables devs to build. They actually have, it's custodial, and that River holds the custody, and developers can build on that API. So if people want that approach, they can use RLS. I was chatting with some folks here that are using OpenNode's API. Strike has an API. So there are a variety of ways. There's the option of, I know folks like BitNob are running Lightning nodes. They're running LND. They're doing things like managing liquidity. In terms of, with Lightning, you need funds both enabled to send and you need inbound liquidity, as we call it, to receive funds on Lightning. So there are a variety of approaches. And the goal is, you don't have to be a Bitcoin protocol expert to build on Lightning. We want to make it accessible. We want to enable makers, to make developers to develop, builders to build. And there's a spectrum upon which, if you have an app, so we heard earlier about ideas around, say, the creator economy, right? And if you're a developer building a website around the creator economy, you can tap into a number of APIs and a number of approaches to build on Lightning, depending upon your preferred approach, be it an API or running your own node. There's also a great community shout out, I know we have some people in the room, of Lightning node operators.
Yeah.
Everyone from Start9 to Umbrel to Raspberry Blitz. There are communities called PlebNet. I know we have some folks involved in that. And these are people that are so passionate about Bitcoin and Lightning. They spend their free time running nodes, helping each other out. It's one of these really cool global online communities, people from all over the world that get involved, and they teach other people. So you have this peer-to-peer educational community of node operators. And shout out to all the node operators who are doing great work in the community.
But yesterday when we were doing the pitches, we saw a picture of the node landscape and Lightning node landscape.
Oh yeah, and shout out to Africa Free Routing, by the way. So I saw them in the hackathon.
How do we get more? How do we make the Africa map? And is it important for us to have more Lightning nodes? And why would you
absolutely. So I was really excited about that project, and I messaged the team at Lightning Labs, and I was like, guys, get in touch. So then I got a message, we have a call set up for Monday, so I'm excited to be chatting with Africa Free Routing on Monday. So great question. I think one of the areas that is crucial is educational content and workshops.
Yes.
So for example, Southeast Asia is an area of expansion right now for Bitcoin and Lightning. Vietnam is one of potentially the largest country for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency adoption. Thailand, Philippines. There's actually a Southeast Asia Lightning conference happening in late March, which I'm planning on going to. So very cool, global connections. And in Thailand, there's a Bitcoin community where they're organizing Lightning node operator workshops. So people are coming in, they're learning about how to run a Lightning node, and you can use a Raspberry Pi in order to do so. You don't need super expensive hardware. A number of these projects use Raspberry Pis. So having things like developer workshops across Africa where people come in, you can buy the hardware for not very much money, and it's a maker kind of environment where people can learn. They can open channels. They can try different approaches to Lightning. They can send and receive payments. I think that's really crucial. And in chatting with Femi, Farid, and others, I had suggested, this event has been incredible thus far, but I think it would be really cool to have developer workshops and a developer track. So I propose that next year here at the Africa Bitcoin Conference, we could have developer sessions and a developer workshop. Bring in developers from across the continent. Get Lalu. I'm recruiting him to join next year. He really wanted to be here. I'm going to hold him to that. A number of incredible developers that we have here in the room and otherwise. And really focus on the educational component, training. There's a lot that you can learn by being hands-on and by being together in a community and building that community.
Brilliant. I love that. Though, I have to say, I have a more urgent timeline, so...
I love it. Let's be ambitious,
In my session 2 days ago, I said I'm confident this time next year we'll have more African Bitcoin developers. I'd love if this time next year we had more African Lightning developers and we had Lightning developer communities.
Let's commit that by this time next year, we will have substantially more Bitcoin and Lightning developers across all of Africa.
Okay.
And we need all of your help here.
Absolutely.
To make that happen.
Yeah. I'll follow up for sure. So we need to set my own call for Tuesday next week.
I like this. We're holding everyone accountable,
I want to talk about stablecoins. And I know a few weeks, about a month and a bit ago, you guys announced Taro and stablecoins on Bitcoin, on Lightning. Can you tell us a bit more about Taro?
Yes. So One of the things about Lightning and Bitcoin Lightning generally that I'm so passionate about is the focus on utility broadly. So folks might be familiar with the broader quote-unquote crypto sphere, where there's a lot of speculation, gambling, tokens. It's all about a get-rich-quick situation. As quickly as something goes up, it goes down, right? And that's not the case with Bitcoin. And as a community, we're very focused on building use cases with utility. And shout out to my friend Lynn Alden. She also wants to come next year, so we'll try to get her here. Be familiar with her work, but if you're not, she's talked a lot about Bitcoin and Lightning's utility to speculation ratio, right? Where you have high utility and relatively lower speculation, especially as compared to the broader crypto ecosystem. So, in talking to a number of people, and shout out to Alex Gladstein, who has been leading the charge in this for a long time, we understand that in emerging markets, because with Lightning, there are two major classes of use cases that we're focused on. The first is use cases that were not previously possible. You can think of things like the creator economy, machine-to-machine payments, micropayments, natively embedded payments on the internet. And the second is access for those that previously did not have it. So you look at the emerging market landscape, places like Africa, Southeast Asia, Latin America. Those are all key. And we saw that there's a major demand for stablecoins. We absolutely love Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the focus of Lightning in the community. But people want the ability to have a stable asset globally, right? And as we've heard over the last few days, we have billions of people with smartphones, also feature phones, globally. But many of them don't have access to traditional financial services, and they don't even need access when we can provide them with a better alternative, when we can actually leapfrog. It's like the landline. We don't need landlines because we have something better, more accessible, more open and global. So people have said, we want access to US dollar. For example, something like, Tether, we've heard from them here. USDT is very popular across the region. So Lalu, being the kind of galaxy brain that he is, came up with a protocol called Taro. I know it's used in a variety of cuisines, the root vegetable, using Taproot, which is a recent upgrade to the Bitcoin protocol, which adds greater privacy. It adds more smart contract functionality to Bitcoin that enables assets on both the base layer of Bitcoin, so layer 1, and then you can move them into Lightning channels, much like you would move Bitcoin into Lightning channels. So Taro is a general assets protocol. You can think of it, so you can issue fungible assets like a stablecoin. You can do what we call unique assets. But our focus as Lightning Labs is on stablecoins because we see such major demand. And we're agnostic. We don't issue the stablecoins like $1 in Lightning. We just build the technology, and then the folks that are working on stablecoins will be able to issue them on Bitcoin. And not surprisingly, a lot of people are very interested in issuing stablecoins on Bitcoin because, as we know, Bitcoin is the most secure blockchain out there. It has the most hash power backing it up. It has by far the most users. It has the most utility. It has the most adoption globally. So people are really excited about this. And then once you're able to send stablecoins over Lightning, you get the high degree of scalability with Lightning, the low fees, and the instant nature of transactions. So we, in late September, released the initial code for Taro on Bitcoin testnet. Huge shout out to the folks in the Lightning Labs team who've been working tirelessly on it, and then the broader community of developers. Honestly, I don't think people sleep on our team, but they should sleep on it. I want them to rest more. And there's been an incredible community kind of contribution and feedback. There are a series of BIPs, which are proposals for the Bitcoin protocol. People are giving feedback. We're actually doing next week our first Taro community call, so any developers that want to get involved should attend that. It's open, anyone can attend. And I can't promise exactly when the main netcode will ship because it's always a danger in Bitcoin when you promise a ship date. But I know it's definitely going to be next year. I hope in the earlier part of next year. And that'll be the ability to issue Taro assets on Bitcoin layer 1, with then the Lightning portion, the ability to send Taro assets on Lightning to follow, hopefully again, quite quickly. And one important point of Taro is this. we hear about dollarized economies, right? Economies where the dollar, even if it's not the official currency, is the main way that people transact. But why don't we hear about, Bitcoinized economies, right? Now that's happening with our local communities, with certain countries making Bitcoin legal tender. You had El Salvador, Central African Republic. With Taro, the goal is to Bitcoinize fiat and Bitcoinize the dollar. And what I mean by that is you're able to not only use the Bitcoin blockchain, the security of the Bitcoin network, the protocol and technology underlying Bitcoin to send and receive dollar assets, but over Lightning, the way that Taro works is you actually go from, say, a USD stablecoin, and then you route through Bitcoin over Lightning. So if I'm running a normal Lightning node with Bitcoin, I'm actually routing, without even necessarily realizing it, fiat payments. And then at the end, it actually does it transfer back to USD. So you could USD, Bitcoin, 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 a couple of nodes, back to dollars.
Okay.
So what that means is Bitcoin becomes a global routing currency with Taro. People, they might have SETI, Naira, dollar, euro, pound, yen, whatever. And then they're all transacting through Bitcoin, right? Which is incredibly powerful, which means Bitcoin's utility becomes far greater because people are routing fiat currencies through Bitcoin, and you're Bitcoinizing fiat currencies, which is the way it should be and the way that it will be in the future. So as a result, this is actually a way to get many more people globally who might initially want access to dollars or stable coins, but then they might get a little curious, and they're using a wallet or an app, and they say, okay, maybe I want part stablecoin, part Bitcoin. And then we get more and more people into Bitcoin, which becomes incredibly powerful for global adoption and providing people access and those that need it most.
Okay. Will Taro be exclusive to stable coins, or is there possibility to create other tokens? And
Taro is a general protocol for assets, but our focus for Lightning Labs is to get stable coins on there because that's what we see the most demand for in terms of the developers we're working with, in terms of the community that we've talked to, et cetera.
How do we prevent possibility of negative use with all the things we're seeing in the shitcoin token space?
Well, at the end of the day, Bitcoin is a very different community. And look, anybody can build on Bitcoin. We can't stop them. Anybody can build on Taro. But from what we've seen and from what the demand is from the developer community, it's not for this kind of thing. I think there's something in the culture of communities that will lead them down the shitcoin rabbit hole, for lack of a better term. And we don't really see that in this community. So while we can't stop people from building on it, it's much more around the focus on, I think of it as, we want to solve real problems for real people in this community, and that's what I love about it. We have Bitcoiners that are so passionate about human rights. We heard yesterday on the panel with Alex Latzin and a number of activists. We have people that are going to their local communities, setting up circular economies, building out these networks of people using Bitcoin. That's very different from the idea that I'm just going to, get rich quick and have a token that is going to spike up and then, it's going to go way down and everyone's going to lose their money. So for me, it's a question of the culture of the community and what people actually want to build. And our community is focused on this type of utility in a way that many others are not.
And if a bad actor snuck into our community and created a token, can they rug pull everyone?
Look, like I said, we cannot stop people.
Yes.
But we can build the kind of culture that is conducive to utility, and I believe we are doing that, and we'll continue to do that.
So we have only a few minutes to go. A previous panel was around women in Bitcoin. And you're a woman running a Bitcoin, a very important part of the Bitcoin ecosystem, and a startup founder. What's the journey been like? Any advice, thoughts, reflections on that journey? And anyone that's thinking of following that path, whether it's a woman or someone thinking about creating a startup, what would you leave them with as?
Yeah, so I'll say this not as a woman in Bitcoin, but as a person in Bitcoin and a member of the community, because, I'm a founder, not a woman founder. But so I love working with startups. We've seen so many companies that have been built on Bitcoin and Lightning. A bunch of you guys are here in the room. And there's so many things that I have learned as a founder that I wish I had known back in the day. But one of the things that has always struck me is very early on, even before I officially incorporated Lightning Labs, had a number of meetings with people in the broader technology world of these big technology companies. And I'll never forget this, but what they told me was, everyone thinks what you guys are doing is crazy and it'll never work. And I sat there and I was basically like, this is a good thing. Because if these people that are so entrenched in the way that they think that what we're doing will not work, it means it will work, right? And I encourage everyone in the room not to let the naysayers, discourage you, because there's this joke that Bitcoin has died hundreds of times. People love to declare Bitcoin dead, and yet it always rises from the dead. And as a founder, there are so many people that are going to tell you what you are doing will never work, and you need to persevere in spite of that. And everyone here in this room that's a part of this community is persevering, believes in this technology, believes in what we're doing, and that is so much of what it takes to build a project, to build a community, to build a startup, to build a company. It's about following through, persevering, and not letting people tell you what you can and cannot do, and doing it anyway. So I love chatting with founders. If you're a builder founder, please come reach out. I have a lot of lessons learned, as mentioned, and it's because of you. And by the way, one thing that I'm super passionate about is I want people in their communities to solve problems from their communities. So I know we have Macha and Kurt here, super excited about what they're doing. Bitnob, Fedi, so many others here in the room that are building for their communities. So I encourage you all to solve real problems for real people, build for your communities, and build the future of Africa with Bitcoin and Lightning.
Thank you so much, Liz. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I've learned a lot, and we've gotten some good commitments. We will grow the number of African Bitcoin and Lightning specific.
And also get involved in Kala.
And yes, we will have Lightning people in Kala as well, and Lightning as a core part of Kala. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time. I think we give Elizabeth one last round of applause. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for them once again. Thank you so much.